So, prayer, the very first chapter of this book, Science and Health, is dedicated to the subject of prayer. And it's not always that easy, so sometimes we form a group. It's like a grassroots. We have in communities, you might have informal groups that come to read this book together along with the Bible. We have Christian Science Society in some places. In Kyoto we have one. And we have churches, they call it First Church of Christ Scientists here in Oceanside. And I just came from Bishop, California. They have one up there too, closer to Mammoth Lakes. And you just see, California is probably have the biggest, population of students of Christian Science. So you're in a good place. You turn around and say, do you study this? I'm looking for coaches. But for me, by attending Christian Science service, I had 3 healings, and one is really major one because it was medically diagnosed heart disease. So one coaching that you can really depend on, other than these 2 books, is to go to these services just by sitting. The best thing about that is that they really leave you alone. That's what I really liked about that service. You might have to stand up or sit down and sing a little bit, but other than that, they don't really have like the rituals that I was familiar with. Because the rituals to me, growing up in Christian school, always divided people. But in this, grassroots, they call it church, first or second or third church. I know there's 28th church in Los Angeles. Different numbers that you apply at the beginning. So those are great coaches too. But the best part is that you are never really separated from that voice, the spiritual messages, that angel voices that comes to us. My friend, I don't know which one to share, but maybe one, Mike's wife's name is Star, and she's, how do you call it, speed walk? She doesn't run. She's walking, but she looks like she's almost running. It's really fast, and she does long distance of this. And very adventurous, and she'd love California too. She went to Egypt one time to do this touring of pyramids on camel. Have you done it? Oh, great. Well, when she did it, she was with a group, but her guide somehow started to take a different route, went far away from the group that she was with, and she's thinking, very cheerful person, like, wow, maybe they're going to show me something special. But what happened was that they came around, just quite remote place, and there was a tent. She was asked to get off, and there were 5 or 6 other men in the tent. And they said, you were kidnapped. And the first thing was that she, of course, was frightened, but remember that the fear is what she has to first cope with, and wanted to really listen and ask God, what is your message to me? Send me the angels, the ideas that will help me. Well, the first thing it said was, go to the corner. And like, what? Why corner? And these guys are looking at them, and they're talking to each other. And you sense this atmosphere that is not right. And she just held her hands up and said, can I go to the corner and pray? So they said yes. They let her. That was actually the first surprise, because they're letting her go to the corner, but they're guarding the entrance of the tent, as if she can really run out to the desert and find her way somewhere. But as she was really humbly listening, and she remembered, going through all the Sunday school, that she learned that there's no spot that God is not, right here even in the tent. There is God. But the thought came to her was, these are your brothers. And she thought, no. No way. My brother back in the East Coast will never do anything like this or never harm me. But it was persistent. These are your brothers. And so she went back with this thought, sharing this, you are my brother. Very straightforward, looking into their eyes. And you know what? They just started to talk again. And I don't know, she said the looks of them changed. The demeanor had changed. They decided to take her back. But it was, I just say this very casually, but it was very intense and scary experience for her. But she wanted to share with others who were traveling, not that these places are dangerous or people are not trustworthy, but just the fact that there's every moment there's help, not just for her to be protected, but those men also to be protected. When we are praying and we are asking for these messages to come, it has to bless all parties, not just one side, right? Even as big as recently North Korea had said, we are launching a rocket towards, southern part of Japan towards Philippines. And a lot of us were really praying. And how would I pray about this? Is there some evil person there and then we are the victim? Or can we really pray to know that even angels can stop a rocket? Does that sound pretty crazy? In many World War II healing accounts that you read by students of Christian Science, we hear a lot about the bombs that they call duds that did not explode. It's not that you need to be the one who's protected, but the one who is about to harm also need to be protected. And do you know what happened to the North Korean rocket? It just went into the ocean after a minute of flying. And let's hope that it's not going to be a repetitious exercise. But one of the characteristics of angel is to bring peace. As you know, angels are reminded many times during Christmas season, right? And even in the Old Testament, where people are in danger. If you know the story of 3 young men walking through the fiery furnace, the king saw the 4th man. In the Bible that we read, it says, Son of God. But in the Jewish scripture, it says an angel. The angel is walking besides these 3 men. So that's the symbol. And if God is love, the love's true nature is to send message. And it has to be a loving message. It has to be a message that will protect us. I have a friend in California who lives in Beverly Hills. After hearing my lecture, had sent me this because it had a little bit to do with angel and making peace. I'm going to read this. As he wrote it, it says, "When I think of angels, I think of Prague, where I visited years ago. I was there on a Sunday and decided to attend the Christian Science Society. This is in 1990s, the end of 1990s. When I arrived, everyone was standing outside the building. The locks had been changed and the person with the keys had gone into the country that day. One woman said, 'No problem, follow me,' and she took us to her home. The Soviets had invaded their city in 1968, and this small group of Christian scientists had held secret services for many years in different members' apartments. So it was fun to experience what that was like. Later that day, I was wandering through the city when it started to rain. I slipped into an artist's studio that was open. The artist allowed me to look at his art. Then he took me into his back room and showed me more. One particular painting caught my eye. An angel hovered over the city with a flaming sword in his hand. I asked the artist to explain his painting. He said that in 1968, when the Soviet tanks rolled in, he immediately painted this painting. The angel depicted Michael, and he was chasing the Soviets out. In 1989, Prague experienced, or Praha, people say, experienced the Velvet Revolution. It started as a peaceful student demonstration, which grew in 4 days to where 500,000 protesters were on the streets. On the 5th day, the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia announced that it would relinquish power and dismantle the single-party state. I've always felt that it was Michael, the angel of God, who had brought about that nonviolent change in the country and restored harmony and freedom. Through prayer, the artists and this small group of Christian Scientists had been listening to angels.